takes a little time. Okay, I'm going on mute.
So what about fleet limits? A lot of companies work with limits, especially for oil analysis. But unfortunately, oil analysis is not about a fixed limit. So let's take a look at this case study here. So for the last 4 years, around 4 years, this site has been changing the gearbox oil after each sample due to the increase in viscosity. At the same time, they noticed that the filters lost efficiency at around 40 to 50%, depending on the turbine, of their useful life, and the filters had to be replaced. Also, the oil temperature was increased again, depending on the turbine, between 5 to 12 Celsius in the last 2 years. And at the same time, the valve that controls the oil flow to the gearbox had to be replaced in probably 20 of these turbines due to the amount of slashed addering to this valve. And we can see how this sludge is it's in the filter, so the filters need to be replaced because the oil is not flowing properly. So if we go to the fleet limits in this case, we can see that initially we are working with a simple PAO ISO 320 oil, while the site has been using a different oil. It's also a 320, but it contains a different chemistry. In this case, it has a pickup ester in the chemistry. So if we go to the limits, we will see that the previous sample was under the limits, everything was perfect. But if we take a look, for example, at the particle count was very close to the limits. However, the site was having a lot of problems, and we can see how the viscosity was increasing to 345, around to 350. Very like 5 centistocks above the limit. So in each situation, the site manager has to decide what to do with the oil. Change the oil because the viscosity was over the limits. Change the oil because the acid number in this case was not over the limits, but it was under the limits. So what really happened with the limits? It was not fixed for the proper oil. Same thing with the additives. The site manager decided to change the oil because the additives were under the limit, right? And so what is the situation here? What is happening? That's the most important thing. So a lot of people change the oil. A lot of sites are using different types of oils, and the fleet has never updated their information in the limit system. So what happened when we have this type of situation, when we are mixing oils? Initially, the additives are the first ones that suffer in rapidly depletion. So depending on the type of additive, the additive will start consuming because it's happening a chemical reaction inside the gearbox. And the additives are the ones that suffer this reaction first. Have an incompatibility between the oils that will create this chemical reaction, and maybe will affect the viscosity. In some cases, the new oil has a different viscosity than the previous oil, so it will be just a compensation on the viscosity. But we don't have to forget that a chemical reaction in some cases can break the hydrocarbon change, and that will create a different viscosity, at least a portion of it. And after the site has found this problem and tried to correct the situation, the contamination with the previous oil, after the gearbox was clean and flushed, not only drained the oil but flushing, we found out that the previous sample was there in the gearbox for around 3 to 4 years, in a concentration that initially was around 10%, and at the fourth year, it was reduced to probably less than 2%. So the previous oil, even if the site decided to do a flushing, remain there. And of course, a remain of the previous oil means that the chemical reaction, if it's a wrong reaction, probably will continue through the years. So in this case, not only cleaning the gearbox, but also in these 4 years, it was necessary to replace or sweetening around 40 to 50% of the amount of oil in the gearbox.